everybody. This is Lawrence Walsh Hodson with Ways to Heal. I'm super excited because today we have Dr. Lisa with us, a real MD who is now a holistic practitioner. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you.
Can you tell us how you made the transition from being a Western doctor to practicing sort of alternative therapies?
Yes, I was in a practice of rheumatology, which is one that deals with people with rheumatoid arthritis, systemic lupus, osteoarthritis, and also fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue.
Right.
This practice was mostly confined to people with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue at the time, when I began to realize that I was seeing a very severe group of patients that weren't responding very well to treatment, and they were having severe pain, fatigue, sleep disorders, all the things that go along with that, and were desperate to try to find something that could help. So I was in a practice where I was working with an osteopath who was open to alternative therapies. She had an acupuncturist in the office, and she had a person that did Rolfing. And she also had someone that was very knowledgeable on herbs, vitamins, and various other natural supplements. And he developed a program for fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue patients, and I implemented that program on these patients, and along with treating them conventionally. And then they seemed to get better, but then there was another subset that weren't responding very well. And this gave me an impetus to look into a variety of other alternative therapies. And in the process, I stumbled across emotional freedom technique.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm sure you're aware of. And I first
tapping. It's tapping.
What?
It's tapping?
Yeah, tapping on various parts of the face and shoulder area to elicit deep-held emotional feelings that you might have that could be released.
Yeah.
And help you in the process of whatever you were struggling with. So I decided to experiment on my daughter first, who was about 8 at the time and was dealing with some anxiety.
Oh.
So when I saw there were benefits to her, I said, okay, I'm going to try this because I seem to have a little bit of a temper, taking after my dear father. And on the 10th session of this emotional freedom technique, my intuition came blasting out, like a psychedelic experience is all I can describe it. And I actually had an out-of-body experience. I was looking at my body from the ceiling, and this was quite the shocker.
Amazing.
At the time. I'd always been intuitive, but I was so conventionally trained that I would, go through the history, the physical, the lab, the x-ray, but I'd always know what was wrong with a person before they even came into the room.
Wow.
But I felt like, I must do all that and confirm it. And I got the same answer as I did intuitively. So in this process of having these intuitive information come out, I was never really religious. I was maybe agnostic at that moment, and I started, after that experience, I started reading everything I could on spirituality, and read about near-death experiences and past lives, and I just went ballistic. And
I remember my spiritual awakening.
Yeah,
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, and I was raised Jewish. I was married to a Lutheran, and we were raising our kids Jewish, but I was never really religious, and I did it more as a more for cultural reasons than anything else.
Yeah.
But I actually visited with the rabbi because I thought I was going crazy. And he said to me, and I told him some prophetic things about what was going to happen with his congregation.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, you're not happy with your congregation, and you're actually very disgusted with them, and you're going to leave in a year. And he did.
Oh, wow.
And so,
how did he receive that when you told him?
he was like looking at, he's kind of, but he said to me, you are, he says, you should go on Larry King Live. That was at the time. He goes, this is unbelievable. And I went,
Wow.
okay. But, you know, it was just very new to me. And so then I basically went on a quest to learn everything I could about spirituality, alternative therapies as a result of this awakening. And I got board certified at that time in homeopathy. I learned about herbs, essential oils. I studied under a shaman. I got a non-denominational minister's license. I studied the Kabbalah.
And did you find all those helped you to connect to your spiritual intuition?
It was just part of the process of gleaning as much information as I could, because I wanted to know about all the different alternative modalities. I would either try them or learn about them.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to, I just was doing an information gathering. Don't forget, I was conventionally trained.
Right.
No knowledge of what was out there, you know, or very little.
Yeah.
So I wanted to experience it.
Yeah, that's why I created Ways to Heal, is that I've done so many modalities, and I feel like people don't know what's out there. It's like you went through your life for however long without ever knowing.
Right.
There's all of this
out there.
Yeah. And as you said, it's experiential. Like, you have to experience it to believe it.
Well, as a result of this awakening, I developed a technique by reading all these different modalities, or learning about them, or experiencing them. I kind of melded together this process, what I call intuitive holistic counseling and healing. What I've ended up working on, originally I started working on people with chronic conditions that were physical.
Okay.
And over time, the work transformed into working on chronic emotional, mental, spiritual, financial, and relationship issues, because they were all sort of interrelated.
So interesting.
As you know,
Yeah.
everything's interrelated. Yeah. So in the scope of a session, I can work on maybe 3 issues, because what I do is identify the root of the problem, heal it energetically, and then work on, in the physical reality, intuitively, what would work best to continue the work so that the person doesn't get a benefit and then it kind of falls flat. In other words, tools for the toolbox so that they can continue their forward momentum.
That's great. So you mentioned that you had a woman that you worked with who was infertile and then later became pregnant. Could you share maybe more of those success stories?
I'll give you a very dramatic one.
Sure.
I actually sometimes work on people that are not even present. In this case, this was years ago actually, when I was working in the ARE clinic. I had a woman walk into my office who said to me, her husband is in a barbiturate-induced coma. He was in his 30s at the time, with 2 young daughters, and he was at a very well-known medical facility on a ventilator because he was having seizures that were nonstop. And they put him in a coma so that he wouldn't keep seizing, you know, and they could see on an EEG monitor that they were continuing, but he was paralyzed on the ventilator. And he'd been on the ventilator for a number of weeks. And, you know, you can't stay on a ventilator forever. And so the seizure was continuing despite being in this, you know, in the coma. And she said, I don't know what to do. And I said, okay. What I did is I worked on her first, because obviously there may be something with the couple, so I wanted to make sure. So I worked on a few of her issues, which it's been so many years, but I remember just clearing up a couple of issues of hers. So I got her to be a clear vessel. And then I asked her to surrogate her husband. And I worked on 3 issues that he had. And I said to her, all I know is I've cleared out whatever was bothering him, whatever it was. And I said, and applied healing like I've done with you. And then I asked her, she asked me, well, what do you think I should do? And I said, because they're telling me I need to pull the plug. So I said to her, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I've helped you with your intuition today so that you know in your heart what is right to do. All I can tell you is he is clear of this, of whatever is the root of his problem. So you need to ask for divine guidance as to what to do next. And so she's like, okay. And she left. And she was guided to have them taper the barbiturates, which was sedating him, and see how he did. And I didn't hear back from her as usual, and everybody does well. And then about 4 months later, she said to me, by the way, he's out of a coma. I got him off the ventilator. He's been seizure-free. Wow. It's been 9 years, and he's seizure-free.
Wow.
And he is, he's totally fine.
Amazing.
And did some further sessions with me on his own personal journey and worked on other issues, and it's just been great.
So powerful.
Yeah. So that was one dramatic one.
Yeah.
I've worked on people with a variety of not just physical issues, variety of chronic physical issues. I mean, I've had people with rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, diabetes, heart disease, lung disease, all these different kind of conditions that have improved, or either they've improved significantly or they've resolved. I don't have a perfect track record because people only accept, I give people tools in the end, and it's really up to them to continue the work and pursue the recommendations that I've given them. And if they drop the ball, then they don't maintain the benefit. It's really, I'm a facilitator more than anything of healing.
What do people experience when they come for a session with you?
Typically, during a session, when people are releasing negative cell memories, they might yawn, sigh, burp, cough, but I may act as their advocate and experience that for them because I want them to focus more on what they're experiencing in a positive way. As far as what they do experience positively, they may feel tingling, warmth, lighter, like a big weight has been lifted or burden, mental clarity, and inner peace.
And have clients reported to you that the work that you do on their energy makes actual difference in their real lives?
I can tell you that definitely their lives basically take a 180-degree turn. I can give you an example on a business. I worked on a CEO of a company. He was focusing on business blocks. He was trying to write a manual and had writer's block. And I cleared the way for him, and he published it. And he also had a very difficult client that he was working on, that he couldn't get him to see his point of view. And it was a very large client, and he convinced him, I gave him the tools, unblocked him the communication skills to be able to get his point across and have the other guy see his point, and moved forward on that. And his business has increased tremendously since the work that we've done.
It's so beautiful. I want to recommend you to like 20 million people.
That would be fabulous because I always have people respond, and I'm always looking for new people.
Right, because you heal them so quickly.
Yes, I mean they do great. So I'm always looking for new clients.
That's wonderful.
Another example of a dramatic response to this process has been a patient of mine who had Crohn's disease, which I don't know if you know this, but this is an inflammatory condition, almost like an autoimmune process that attacks the small intestine and the large intestine and can affect a variety of other parts of the body, but it causes bleeding and fissures and all kinds of problems, and and severe weight loss, and it can also lead to death in a large number of cases. People use very strong therapies to try to resolve this. This particular client had a severe bout of Crohn's and was trying to manage it medically, and really was not comfortable with the side effects of the medical regimen, and sought my help when I was at the ARE clinic in Arizona. At the time, we were working pretty regularly. He was a very steady client working on so many issues. He was literally a mess. And I worked on him very, very frequently, which then over the years tapered, but we started working on physical and then mental and then emotional and spiritual and financial and relationship issues. And over the years it tapered, but his intuition developed in the process, and he was guided to try certain supplements, and also became involved with martial arts, and even sought out peyote to become more, doing desert trips to learn about, be connected spiritually and be attuned. And through the combination of working with me and doing these things, he is now basically very close to getting his black belt in Hapkido, and his Crohn's disease has quieted completely without any flare-ups in the last 9 years.
Wow.
He's had no flares, no hospitalizations, and is very close now to identifying the root of it. As you know, we're onions.
Right.
And probably resolving it once and for all, but it has to come from him.
Yeah. Sounds like
as I told you, it's up to you. In the end, it's always up to the person.
Yeah. Sounds like a well-deserved miracle.
Yes. What I see as a result of this work, and have seen in the last 15 years, is I have over 90% success rate, and I've had people basically doing a 180-degree transformation of their life. From one way of being, they make a paradigm shift from one way of being into another way of being, to the point where they don't even remember how they used to be.
Right.
And oftentimes they don't even contact me again because they forget how they used to be. And they've had miracles, basically.
Beautiful. So how long have you been doing this practice?
Well, when I had that awakening, that was in, I believe, in the mid-90s, I would say. And then I really went full bore in 2000 when I closed my conventional practice, which was using a little bit of alternative medicine, and went completely into an intuitive, holistic counseling and healing practice. It's very rewarding because patients are resolving or greatly improving a chronic condition in which conventional medicine just treats the symptoms and maybe gets it under control, but never really resolves it.
Right. And then they have to deal with all the side effects.
Plus they are dealing with side effects.
Yeah.
Or long-term consequences that they thought that they would never get, but they end up getting, and it's even worse than the original disease.
Right. Yeah, it's so amazing that you can get to the root of the actual issue. It's great.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
Truly.
Thanks for blessing us.
Thank you.
So we will put up your information so clients can contact you. And it's been such a pleasure working with you, feeling your work, and feeling the divinity behind your work. And it's just so beautiful and profound. Thank you so
Well,
much.
I do this work. It's my passion, as they always say. I'm trying to maximize my gifts so that I can be in complete and total alignment with my divine path and purpose. And I truly feel like this is an important work to bring forth, not just to individuals, but to groups, and maybe beyond that. I don't even know, because I think it is a world-changing kind of work.
Absolutely.
And it's important work, and it needs to be known.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you getting the word out.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you, Dr.
You.
Lisa.